So let's get started. Damien, the floor is yours and the clock is ticking.
Yeah, sorry to be the first to disappoint. I won't be catching speeching. I'll try to be quick though. Yeah, my name is Damian Clarke. I'm the park manager at Wicklow National Park. So I'll be honest, there's no heavy data in here. I just want to give a brief and broad overview of the national park and some of the issues we face, and I'll give you some facts and figures around it. So important to stress, Wicklow National Park and IUCN Category 2 National Park. So a lot of our UK colleagues, they're if not all of their national parks are Category 5. Ours are quite different. Apologies, I'm not contributing computers here.
Sorry, just there's music coming through there, so you just need to turn it off, this music. Yeah, perfect. Sorry, thanks. Sorry, you have an extra 20 seconds.
So it's an IUCN Category 2 National Park. So the important point, the main point of that is we're about protecting the ecological processes. Now, an important consideration is also the compatible spiritual, scientific, educational, and important thing for yourselves here, recreational opportunities, but they can't impact on the natural processes. That's the theory. There's 6 national parks. There's a new 7th national park, but 6 large national parks, quite like Wicklow in the National Parks and Wildlife Service. But you can see Wicklow Mountains National Park, the only one on the east coast, and obviously we're quite close to Dublin. So about 40% of the nation's population within an hour's drive of a national park, and obviously that puts huge pressure on the national park. The national park, it's 23,000 hectares and not a very convenient shape, as you can see, 320 kilometres, some large holes, private estates, Department of Defence lands, we've acquired lands over time, so some fragmented pieces aren't even contiguous with the main body, so that has issues around managing people and counting people and the likes. For many people, this is Wicklow Mountains National Park. It's a tiny portion of it, but the Glendalough Valley is Wicklow Mountains National Park, yeah. The monastic site isn't technically in the national park, but visitors to the monastic site are largely going to enter into the national park. We've 23 park staff, and a large amount of their time and effort is spent in managing this small area, which is probably about, depending on where you draw the boundary, about 230 hectares. So really only about 1% of the actual national park, but a huge body of visitors and a huge amount of our time and effort is put in here. It's estimated, if you Google it, Fáilte Ireland would say about circa 1 million visitors, and Glendalough is reasonably well studied in terms of visitors from ourselves, and our data would concur with that. It's a general understanding that most people don't venture too far from the car park, the Upper Lake area. When I started here, it used to be said that most people went about 5 minutes from their car. That's probably a bit different now, but they don't venture very far, as they're really concentrated in this 1% of the national park. So if you look behind you, just over the forest over there, that's the Green Road. People access the Upper Lake from the monastic site, so that's the main thoroughfare for that, and that's our most popular route. About 500,000 people on that road annually, with a further 75,000 parking up at the Upper Lake. And some of you will go on a trip to the Upper Lake or up to the Spink later on, you can see this area. Glendalough is manicured, kind of well managed, kind of a hardened site. If you go up, it's like a classic park, it's green and we cut the grass and it's picnic tables and all that, and that's what a lot of people go there for. And those 500,000 visitors, they're probably not connected with the ecological damage that is associated at times with recreation. They cause other issues which has been dealt with, congestion, impacts on visitor experience, but in terms of protecting the environment, we don't have huge concern for these people because of the nature of the environment they're in up there. I mentioned people not straying from the car park, but about 25 years ago we put a path in here to protect this walk. It's called the Spink. Again, someone's up there this evening. It was put in to protect the habitat, but to put a boardwalk in, and what happens, the more people go. So those 500,000 people, 135,000 people go up here to see this, which is a huge number on an upland path. Interestingly, so the path comes along the cliff here, and there's a loop walk that we promote called the White Route, but only 20,000 make it to the end there. So huge drop off, people are coming up for that view and then dropping off. And then Camderry Mountain here, the popular walking route, but it's not waymarked, we don't promote it, and only 3,500 people, that's what we estimate annually up there. And that's a figure worth noting, I'll touch back on it in a minute. So it's not a casual visitor. that is creating the impact on this site. And this site is also a special area of conservation, so legally in Europe we have to protect it, protect the habitats. It's the people in the wider national park, the hill walkers, the other recreational users, and I'm sure you've all seen examples of this heavy erosion just through footfall. There are some counters out there, but we don't have great data on people in the wider national park. I referenced the size of our boundary. Now there's black pins all around this. Years ago we had an exercise to mark all the main points of the boundary and where people may access the national park. So boundary and access signage project, there's 400 of them markers out there. Now some of them might only see one person every year or whatever, but this is the way the park, this is the way people access the park. People can come to Glendalough, but there's a huge boundary out there that people will, there's ad hoc pull-in spots in the hills, and lots of people will access through this. So very difficult to analyse and estimate, those people. In, I think it was 2021, we were involved with the Wicklow Uplands Council in a project to look at upland paths in the uplands, the damage on them. Wicklow Uplands Council ran the project. We were involved along with Quailcha, Mountaineer in Ireland, Wicklow County Council, the County Wicklow Partnership. Chris York got the contract. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Chris. And we looked at surveyed a set number of paths in the Wicklow Uplands. It's not all of them. They're not all in the national park, but the core here, that's all national park. And these are all paths that are damaged, and this is recreational pressure. In total, there's 167 kilometres of path surveyed. We estimated 4,000 days of labour, and attached to this as a baseline that we can revisit and look at how this is impacting, continued impacts on the national park. There's 1,400 georeference images. There's a little bit on the colour coding. Red is deep peat, and that's important. These are the most sensitive sites and the most difficult sites. The yellow and red, or the yellow and purple, you have some hope of doing something, but a lot of this is very difficult to deal with. Internally, we do hope to supplement this with a further path mapping study through automated processes. We currently have a mapping project with RPS to look at wider peatland damage, but this hopefully will be included. The study looks in detail at the paths. This is Cammaderry Mountain, the mountain I referenced earlier, with 3,500 visitors, and just broken up into homogeneous sections of path based on the condition. He looks at a lot of detailed information, the slope, the path width, the peat depth, and that's critical in determining any intervention we can go about. So I said 3,500 visitors, we have 135,000 up to the Spink. There's only 3,500 on the path up Cammaderry, and yet this is the path in Cammaderry, 2 metres of peat eroded, and we're down to the bedrock. So I suppose the point is, numbers tell us one thing, but really you have to look at numbers in relation to the habitat type if we're going to look at damage on sites, the ecological impacts of recreation. Our national park, it's designated as a national park and also as a special area conservation, primarily for its peatland habitats, and peatland habitats are really fragile. So we also use that information in a broad format to look at measures, to inform measures we can bring about. So this is White Hill on the left, well, White Hill on both slides, our old use of boardwalks, trying to move away from that. But again, the peat depth, the analysis that has been done by Chris York informs decisions you can make and the methods you can use. In terms of other activities in the park, knowledge we have on the impacts recreation have had, that informs our permitting system, so we're free to come to the park and walk and engage in routine activities. But if you want a commercial or a big event, you're going to have to get permission from the national park and be cross-referenced against, and these are some of the standard kind of, you name it, it'll happen in the national park, whether we allow it or not, you're all familiar with this kind of thing. But we get, being so close to Dublin, we get a huge amount of events. A key piece we're missing, this is an example from the States, the one I'm reading, a friend works there, is this visitor use management plan. We have a visitor experience management master plan headed by Fáilte Ireland, but we need to have this detailed look at how the park is used to carrying capacity of these fragile habitats. And hopefully in a few years' time I could present on that, but still trying to push that through. Every time we get an opportunity, I will talk about the need for this. Yeah, so for further information on the path survey, wicklow-uplands.ie, that's the Wicklow Uplands Council's website. The complete survey is there, and it's very detailed and very interesting. And yeah, there's my own email address if you want to contact me. Thank you.